home, and whenever they had guests, they would invite us over. And just imagine that those days, there were no books in Japanese. There was no Xerox. It was, handwritten, stenciled. If you know stenciling, perhaps you wouldn't have even heard of it. Like it's like block printing. So you write on a piece paper, and then create a board kind of a thing, and then it's like in a printing press. You stencil it. So we used to get those handwritten materials, and no dictionaries available, nothing, obviously no internet. So you are very blessed compared to us, because you get to hear so much of Japanese. But then I believe that the more facilities you have, then you tend to take it little lightly. I'm generalizing, but I'm a temai miso de wakarimasu ka? Temai miso. No? Jisho jisan te wakarimasu ka? No? So like maybe indulging in self-praise. Like I'm saying myself that I could speak Japanese very fluently even before I went to Japan. Just imagine those days. So there were no scholarships. I started teaching at JNU, and only after a couple of years I could make it to Japan. So, like I would say again, you people are blessed that way. You have so many opportunities to visit Japan. So, that was the kind of beginning we had, and then I used to teach first. Of course, you start with teaching from first year onwards, and then gradually I ended up specializing, teaching masters in masters courses. I used to teach say masters this history and culture of Japan. You have that 540, I think, one, or that course number 40, maybe 6.
401, yes.
401 and 501, right? So I used to teach that in Japanese. So practically, I have taught all your teachers, obviously, but even some senior teachers. So I used to teach that course in Japanese, and everybody found it quite hot to handle, because I brought in Japanese text to be read in on Japanese history and culture, like Ienaga Saburo and all famous Japanese authors who write on those subjects. So later on, these people used to come back and tell me that yes, it was very, very helpful in brushing up their Japanese, or even reading those kind of texts which they wouldn't have otherwise looked at. And second thing was, because I could speak good Japanese, I started getting requests from the ministries and all, whenever, because in the 80s the Japanese started coming in, and a lot of business delegations were here. So they used to, like, the government used to ask from JNU for me to come and say interpret for the Prime Minister. So I've interpreted for Rajiv Gandhi. I interpreted for all Mr. Rao, the Prime Minister, and a whole lot of them. So then I felt, that course in JNU, like it's too theoretical. So I started working on developing this interpretation course, which I offered for almost more than 30 years, I would say, till I retired. So this interpretation course was I used to teach, say the first semester, we would do Japanese economy. Then second semester, current affairs. And then last semester, we do mix of all hands-on, practical, say, speeches and all by prime ministers or all. So there also this course, I would say, those who were good in spoken and wanted to really challenge themselves, they used to join the course. So out of 30 students, say maybe 7, 8, 10 people would join my course. And they really benefited from the course, I would say that. I think most of the people you have had interaction with, Manu, then Vineet, Prasad, Usha, all of them were nice. They went through, underwent training in this course. And so there, I used to even share all the materials before summer vacation. So perhaps, I don't know, I have not met most of you, but, and it's 3 years, so perhaps I'm no longer being talked about on the campus. But earlier people used to really always say that Motwani Sensei's course is very tough. And so like what I want to say is that I wanted to, I always shared the entire semester's materials upfront before the summer vacation and fixed the sequence. And we used to take up one topic every week. And the students were also free to bring anything they wanted to. Like if they read something interesting on that article, that topic, so they would bring that article, and we did the whole thing in the class itself. So we were very, very flexible, not necessarily like doing what is pre-prepared, because interpretation is all about being extempore. So so that's why I like you. And then it was not just doing on the prepared those materials. We would say decide on a topic, and say if there were 10 students, we would choose microscopic topics within that macro topic. So if it is say India-Japan relationship, so we'll take up maybe ODA. We will take up say grassroots assistance. We will take up who all say have visited Japan. What kind of like Abe had made a presentation in the made a speech in our parliament. So we will take up that speech. Or if all variety of materials we would do in the class. So it was in a way tough, but students really benefited. So I can, again, I use that word, temai misodaga. So most of these people ended up getting very good jobs in Japan, and even Nikkei, that through which you can find a job in Japan, or through my direct recommendation, quite a few students have been in Japan and doing quite well in their career. And So, I mean, you can ask me questions, but wherever you feel like. Then, like, I don't know whether you are aware, I published this book recently last year. This is Becoming World-Class Lessons from Made in Japan. Now, this is all related to this kind of thing that I did. So basically, when I used to interpret, I got a chance to visit, many companies, because there are two methodologies which are very popular in two or rather three, which are very popular in India as part of Japanese management practices. You might have heard about PQM. Have you heard? What is it?
So, quality management.
Total quality management, right? And then there is TPM, that is total productive maintenance. Although it is maintenance, but you can call it total productive management. And so these two, there are awards from Japan side. There are two organizations which give the award. It is like like there is a Deming Prize, which is kind of Oscar for a company if they are able to get this award. I mean, it's a kind of a certification, but much more than ISO or any of those kind of certifications, because it's not document based. It's more on hands-on based. So these two awards are there and quite popular in India. So, like my actually topic of PhD was modernization of Japan. So I worked on post-war Japan, and that is what I used to teach also as a part of interpretation course. So we, I mean, I specialized on Japanese management practices, because in India, when they used to come for audits, these professors, I mean, for Deming, this examination, the university professors, and they were known to me because that was my subject. And when I went to Japan, I used to go to Japan. I used to interact with them, and they said that, why don't you get involved? So because you know the subject, and you can speak good Japanese. So that's how I got involved in all these Deming and TPM audits. And when I went to these companies, and over the years, and mind you, this used to happen during summer vacation or winter vacation, so I could do it. Otherwise, being a regular faculty, you cannot really be doing all that. So so I could really go and see that these management practices which come from Japan, how they are being implemented. So about 550 companies have got certified in last about 25 years. But I found a big gap. I mean, it's because of our work culture, because of the lack of ecosystem in this country. I'll maybe talk about that. So I always felt, that a lot more needs to be done to for the Indian industry to do well globally. And even if they are adopting Japanese practices, they are scratching only the surface. They are not there. I mean, just for certification's sake, they are there. And once the certification is over, the file is closed and they forget about it. So it's not really being used as a management practice or improving things. So, and then also whenever I used to go to Japan every year. I mean, I didn't wait for any scholarships to come my way. I used to pay for my visits to Japan. So I used to, initial years, I used to spend all my summer vacations in Japan. And the day university closed, I used to go away to Japan. And the day university was to reopen one day before, I used to come back here. So how did I manage that? I used to go and lecture in some university through my close professor friends and all on Indian economy or Indian companies in India. What are their problems, challenges that they face? So through those contacts, I used to. I mean, when you give lectures in Japan, you get paid. So that is how I used to finance my trips to Japan. 2-3 months I used to stay there, which is quite expensive. But that's how I really deepened my knowledge about Japan. So, I mean, one good example, again, as I said, Temai Miso, or is that when the Deming audit started in India, they used to bring interpreters from Japan because they said that no foreigner can interpret for this. After 2, 3, 4 years, they developed so much confidence that they stopped bringing interpreters from Japan. So myself and Ashok Chawla Sensei, 2 of us were there. And I mean, initial years, we used to represent the Indian company and be their interpreter. And they used to bring one interpreter from Japan who would represent the Japanese side. So that's a protocol. But after 3-4 years, myself and Ashok Chawla, we used to either represent India or Japan. So that's one evidence that if you really excel in your field, people recognize you, and so much so that many of these audits used to happen in August also. So we used to tell them that August we cannot come because our session gets on. So they started conducting audits, I mean, in July or June, and they kind of the entire audit process used to start by first ensuring that we are available. So, I mean, why I'm saying this, I hear a lot from our students when they go and work in the industry that have a career stagnation. That if you are an interpreter or a translator, yes, obviously, you unless you pick up some specialization while working, you have a career stagnation because you will always be an interpreter, bilingual, like. So you need to acquire some other skill to do well in that job. So as you would know that Vineet or say Prasad, they did MBA and have done, I think many others have done this, or even quite a few people have pick up, I mean, they are into marketing, so pick up those marketing skills and all. So what I'm saying is that yes, in a way you have a situation where you face stagnation in your career, but if you really pick up, say, serve as a bridge between Japanese culture and Indian culture, so I think companies also recognize you. If they think that yes, you are not just a bilingual, you are able to contribute in terms of bringing the best practices of Japan to the company. It is recognized, and you can always hope to progress in your career. So, so I always, people say that we don't want to be interpreters because we don't see growth. But then I always say that I still do interpret for audits, and as I told you, the schedule of the audit is fixed depending on my availability. So you can be the only one, as the Japanese always say. So try to be the only one. For that, of course, Michinori wa nagai. You understand Michinori wa nagai? Some of the junior ones, those who have been in Japan, would perhaps know. Say yes or no.
Does it mean there is a long way to go?
Yeah, it's a long, winding way to go. So it there's no end to it. I even now I spend most of my time, if I'm not. By the way, I'm more busy than I was in my time with JNU. In consulting, I'm now a consultant, and I consult on Japanese management for companies who are going for these awards. And I don't know. Companies say that if you have to clear the audit, you must get Mr. Motwani. So that way, I'm quite sought after. So good to be busy. That's why when I was approached by Meru, I told her that I yesterday only came from Chennai. Today I'm headed to Vadodara, then to Mumbai, and further to Pune. Again, I come back only for Sundays, and rest of the days I'm working. And it's very challenging, very interesting to be able to contribute to the Indian economy, maybe Indian companies, to perform better, and to make them realize, where they are going wrong, and how the best practices go. So that's I think you must also do if you want to really succeed in your career. I even interacting with companies where people from even IIT graduates are there, or some of the best engineering colleges, those graduates are there. But mind you, I may be again kind of generalizing. Like in Japanese, you say ichigai wa kichigai. Do you understand? Like you say, in Japanese, ichigai ni ieba. Ichigai ni ieba is if I have
suppositions.
Yes, the generalization basically. So Japanese say ichigai wa kichigai. So I'm kichigai perhaps, but people in India somehow think that once you are out of college, your education is over. Do you agree? No. No. Of course, you still have to start working, but then what I've seen is that even in the companies, People don't even read a book in their entire career. I mean, just imagine that. I always say all this. I'm not an engineer. Okay, it's all common sense, and I go and teach these so-called engineering graduates from the best of colleges, or people who have worked in the industry 30 years or so. They are my so-called students whom I'm teaching. Based on all that I have picked up, not as my say core discipline, but as vocational part. So all through that I picked up. So I feel that they are also like students. People who are working adults who are who have spent maybe 30 years in their career, 25, 30 years. Still, when these audits happen, 1 week before, they will start preparing their presentations for it, and that's half-baked. So we have a tough time, during my career, tough time making students really work hard. Now these so-called working adults who do the same job day in, day out, and an outsider who doesn't know precisely about that their processes and all can come and find faults with them, means somewhere something is wrong. So I always do the same way, although they are maybe few years junior to me. I'm same as strict as I used to be as a teacher. So, and that's why I would say this kind of image is there by word of mouth, that if you want to clear audit, get him. So all that my knowledge which I have acquired over the years, partly hands-on, of course, partly through a lot of reading that I do, is in this book, Becoming World Class. So maybe I have two presentations. I don't want to really go into details of this, but if you want to know, right now you are in 4th year and 5th year, you don't have interpretation course, right? You don't.
We only had interpretation in 3rd year.
Third year. That is actually conversation course, I would say. Okay. So that is one thing, which I think will be a handicap for you people when you pass out, because basically I would say 95 to maybe 98% of you will have to go and work in the industry. Because teaching jobs are not easy to come by, and you have to be the right person has to be in the right place to really get a teaching job. And very difficult these days. I think the government is not wanting to have regular this thing, and they always want to use retired people so that they can pay them, as a guest lecturer, say some 35,000-40,000, and manage. This is not a very good policy, I would say. So, you see, most of you would end up working in the industry. Some of you may get a job in Japan, which maybe I always tell my students that first 3 years go and work in Japan, because younger people, best way is to really to pick up, proper mentoring and coaching and guidance by your seniors. I think Japan is one of the best places to be in, although it's not easy on the individual, but that's how you learn. I think you will be a better professional if you work first 3 years in Japan. So I thought this is a just a minute. I'm not getting this option of share the file.
Let me just check the settings, Sensei.
Yeah.
Oh, could you try once again, please?
Just a minute.
So are you able to click on present now?
I have clicked on my presentation, but normally share file option comes, right? Present now. Okay, that's
The settings on my end show that the participants are allowed to share their screens.
just
Sensei, is it a PPT?
yes,
Microsoft?
yes, yes.
Yes, then we need to click on present now, and
Present now, no?
yes, and there is an option to present a window. You can try present a window or maybe entire screen.
So which one? Your entire screen, a window?
I think a window would be better. Are you able to share something?
Yeah, but
You can just choose the window, the PPT that you want.
how much time we have?
Another 30 minutes should be fine, Sensei.
Okay. No, so I have opened my presentation. Normally, in Zoom, you have share your file. So when I click on the window, that presentation is not showing. I'll click
Okay,
again.
then maybe you can try the entire screen option.
No, even that didn't work. So
Or if you could share the PPT with either Meru or me.
just a minute. Let me try. Okay, I'm then sharing.
I've put my email ID in the chat.
Okay, one I have sent you, which is on my this book, key takeaways from my book. Just gone. Received it?
Is it visible, Sensei? Yes.
No, but that's not my presentation.
This is what I received from you on my email.
That's it. No, mine is the key takeaways from the book.
Oh, but this was what was.
I think it's not what I meant. Okay, just let me send it through normal email. Right? Your regular email is okay, right?
Yes, it's it. This is the ID that I've sent on the chat is my regular ID.
Okay, I have sent it again.
It isn't here yet.
It's just gone from this side. So we'll get it in a few seconds.
Yes, Sensei, I have received it. I'll just share in a second. Is it visible?
Yeah. It's a PDF file, so I think let's put it full screen and okay. So just let's run through very briefly. I'll explain to you. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, Sensei.
Yeah. So actually, I mean, this is about my book though, but I mean, it's exactly what we have been discussing about where India is going wrong, and I mean, you as students of Japan should know about the Japanese management. So, like basically, what I've talked about is that there is direct adoption of Japanese management in India, like Suzuki and Honda coming into India in the 80s, and that's how the word went around that Japanese management is very different from the management practices being followed in Indian companies. And of course, Honda and Suzuki, they adopted those practices in their own factories. But those who adopted it, basically, they were not really well versed with what the management practices are. So whatever they experience, they try to adopt it. So in the process, a lot of distortion happened. And in the 90s, these when the Indian economy opened up, then these consultants and all started coming into India, and companies started practicing those under those consultants. So that was, indirect adoption, I call it, that under a consultant you adopt Japanese practices. So, about for TQM, about 50 companies, and for JQM, that is the Japan Quality Metal, 7 companies, and some 400 odd numbers, 430 odd numbers have got the TPM award. But then, there are 5 levels of awards, and only, not even a single company which has got the world class award till date. Whereas, you will find even a world class company in Thailand, not one, maybe 2, 3, and many other countries. So India is really lagging behind there. Okay, just go to the next one. So why it fails in India? It's very small. I can't really read this. So I was saying the missing ecosystem. Yeah. So underlying philosophies, principles are not adopted for cultural reasons. Like, the bottom-up approach. Do you understand bottom-up approach? Basically, bottom-up approach is that you allow people on the shop floor, that means the operators and all, to give suggestions, do Kaizen and all. We hardly, kind of delegate the authority to these people. So, and then total employee involvement, respect for people, and QCD, the quality, cost, delivery, everyone's responsibility. So even Japanese joint venture companies have found it very difficult to implement those practices in India. So because we have an elite culture, those who come from these big the universities, reputed universities, they they don't go to the gemba, they don't go to the shop floor, and sitting in their room, they try to manage things. Then planning is shoddy, then no indigenous approach. So I'm just skipping, just go to the next one. I want to go to the next page. So what are these, just little scroll down. Yeah. So these Japanese manufacturing practices or management practices, that Japan, after the Second World War, within, say, 22 years, in 1967, Japan overtook Germany to become the second largest economy in the world. Okay, so within 22 years, they established Made in Japan, and behind that were these management practices. And it's all a hands-on approach. So, like say BIQ is the built-in quality. They Toyota started in 1962 and they are still doing it. We go and teach these concepts to Indians. By the time you go after a month or so, they say we have done built-in quality. Japan, Toyota has done it for 60 years and still they are not done with it. And in India, they understand the concept and show, yes, we have done it. So that's one big, cultural barrier there. Then this, these philosophies are popular in more than 50 countries, but there is very little logical and practical approach because of the lack of these underlying philosophies. Okay, go to next. And those philosophies are, as I said, total employee involvement, mentorship system. We don't have any mentorship system. Then job rotation and lifelong training. Do you know, job rotation in Japan? No.
So I think
Yeah.
basically they assign you to different job roles. For example, you can be at the production plant, you can be in sales
Yes.
after some, yeah. So
Yes,
that's
a designer. In India, a designer would be assigned to a design department. I mean, all his career. In Japan, a designer starts working from shop floor. That how the product is made. Then he'll be assigned to marketing to see or confirm that how the product is used by the customer. Then we'll come back to design, and then design, keeping in mind the problems faced in manufacturing and using. So that is how they go about it. And then it doesn't have anything to do with the specialization of the person. In India, say if you are an engineer, you become a system manager, then very soon in 3 years manager, whereas you have not been trained that way like in Japan they do. And suppose your discipline could be something, but when you may have aptitude for something else. Suppose you are a mechanical engineer, but then could be circumstances led you to choosing that kind of discipline. But suppose you show your skill or say aptitude in marketing. So if you are posted through job rotation, you are posted in various functions. Your seniors see what your aptitude is, so they assign you to that department. So that is something in India doesn't happen at all. So that really helps them to understand all the functions of the company. And then in Japan, that people don't change their job. Once they join a company, they never change their job all their life. So that is one major difference that happens. And then this lifelong training also. You have in India, if you are being assigned a job, you may receive 1 week's training, say on marketing, then you will receive 1 week training on marketing and you'll be assigned to that. Whereas in Japan, it is even in marketing, you will continue to receive lifelong training on various marketing skills and a whole lot of standardization and everything. Okay, just go quickly to the next one. And how you can read now. I've shared this presentation with you. You can read yourself. So basically, what was the American and European response to the Japanese management practices? So you will find that India has not really adopted it in the real sense, whereas America and Europe did adopt certain things, even including these management practices in their business schools. Then the ISO standards and all were revised. And certain awards like Malcolm Baldrige Award was instituted in US. So a whole lot of things. Okay, go to the next one, quick. Now, have the Japanese management practices delivered at the company level in India? No world-class companies in India. Can you name one company which is world-class in India? Not even one. Okay, then, very interesting to know this evasive Japan quality. That Maruti has been here since 1982-83, and they have been producing cars. They are so popular in India. They exported Baleno to Japan only in 2016. And that means what? 34 years after they started manufacturing in India. And India is supposed to be a low-cost base, manufacturing base. But they could not export to Japan because of the quality that is demanded by customers in that country. Panasonic is here for many, many years, producing rice cookers, mixers, grinders. And they export to 30 countries. And 2007, they started exporting to those 30 countries. But to Japan, they could export this rice cooker and mixer grinder made in India 10 years later than that because of the quality. So I talked to this Panasonic, head of operations here, and Japanese, and he was telling me that we had to take the operators to Japan for training for a long time to understand what Japan quality is. Okay, so, and mind you, it's a Japanese company and not able to really get that kind of quality from their people. Okay, go further. Then, we talk about low-cost manufacturing. That IoT and digitalization, everything is happening. And 60% of the jobs are going to be automated. So in future, the shop floors will be like one person manning maybe the entire shop. So that's already happening actually. And so no jobs. So this low-cost manufacturing has no meaning for India. Then we don't have any sustainable competitive advantage like quality, cost, delivery, technology, and new products. Okay, go next. Now, major issues are, short-term perspective, that they don't have long-term planning. Do you know that in India, in manufacturing, many companies have about 80 to 90% of the workers who are contract workers. Now, if you are in that company only for 9 to 10 months or maximum 1 year, how can you really learn about producing good quality products or doing some, the activities to reduce the cost and all? And we have this class conflict, which so we are unable to tap into their talent. I'm a great cricket fan. Love to watch. So India beat Australia a couple of years back, I think 3 years back. And it's just that all the leading players were injured and uncapped players were used, and they won the series for India in Australia. So we need to believe in the young talent. And that is what I mean to say here. Okay, go ahead. Now, I'm myself a consultant. They say that, okay, you talk about something. If I show them something on built-in quality, they will say, okay, share the presentation. And next day, everything, if I share the presentation, the data which is there, they change the data to their own data, and that becomes their presentation for the audit. I mean, it doesn't work. So lack of depth, excess dependence on consultants. And okay, go ahead. I'm not going into too many details here. And lack of collective thinking. Okay, now this you must be hearing. Go to the next one. How about Indian manufacturing at the national level? Every government says make in India. We want to make it successful. The contribution of manufacturing to the national GDP is has when 1991 was 15%. Today also it is 15%, and during COVID it went down to about 12-13%. So we have not been able to really get the benefit of the demographic dividend, and we have what every month we have $25 billion worth of excess imports from China alone. So we are so much dependent on China for imports because we can't make those things here. And we talk about Make in India. So some of the stumbling blocks you please go through later. I would want to come back and discuss with you about these differences in the work culture, which I think young people like you will have to really look at and change when you start working. Okay, next. Is it the last one or no? Good. Next. So this is like I was saying, current status of Indian manufacturing. That during this COVID, about 60 odd companies left China, exited China. And India was hoping that they would come to India because after China, India is the mega market. No one came. Vietnam, small country like Vietnam, Southeast Asian countries, small countries, they are preferred over India. Then this I told you, manufacturing contribution is just 15%. Can you imagine that we, in the entire history of Indian economy, we have never had positive, trade. Positive trade means excess of exports over imports. We never had. All our history, it is always excess of, imports over exports, which is not good because we are importing more and exporting less, which is a real trade deficit. And during COVID, we lost so many jobs. Okay, go ahead. Next. Now, I'll stop here, like some examples of long-term perspective. Mobile phones, which everyone uses today. Do you know that in India, we don't have the capability to produce mobile phones? How many of you know that? Right. All these either we buy Apple or we buy Chinese products. We can't produce. The entire ecosystem doesn't exist. We may be producing some parts, but we can't produce mobile phones because the chips and all, display panels, they cannot be produced in India. But why? I mean, I always wonder. India is such a huge country. A lot of engineers, industries are there. Why they could not have the foresight to invest in something where millions and millions of that about 130 million mobile phones are sold every month, even now. So why is it that India never thought about producing them here? This telecom equipment, you can't produce in India. Everything comes from overseas. Okay. Then these capital goods. Capital goods are the machinery and all. We import them. most of them. Most interesting. We talk about, like, the government talks about India being, the factory for making vaccines. You must have heard about this, corona vaccine being produced in India, which is okay. We have the manufacturing facility, but this API is the basic raw material for any medicine. 70% comes from China. So if we don't don't import the API from China, we can't produce the medicines. So when I say ecosystem, the country doesn't have the ecosystem at all. So, like, you import from China, and if the prices go up, our medicines prices go up. Okay, and then EV. We are talking so much about EV. Do you know that lithium batteries for EV? We don't have even a single facility today to produce lithium batteries. So no planning. That's what I'm saying. Okay, next. Okay, just skip this. You can read later. Okay, go ahead. So I've talked about this lessons from Made in Japan, which my book talks about, securing the national competitive advantage, what India must do. Okay, next. Isn't it, very interesting for any student of Japan to know that Japan 45 lost the war and was totally devastated by that. And in 1964, it held Tokyo Olympics. So within 19 years, and mind you that till 1952, Japan was occupied by the Japanese, American forces. So from 52 to 67, 15 years, as I said, Japan became number 2 in the economy in the world. They had successfully implemented the Olympics. They introduced the bullet train in 1964. So remarkable, So behind that is these management practices, which I think you must read if you want to, understand Japan, the Japanese work culture, Japanese, human resource development. And as students of Japan, I think if you really read and understand these aspects of Japan, what I was saying earlier, that knowing the language is one thing, but then understanding Japan and that in India, Japan has a very, very positive image, and all industries look up to Japan for say those management practices or best practices to be brought in and implemented here. So the problem is that as I said, the ecosystem doesn't exist. The government works quite independently. Industry associations do not really do their job in the right sense. And within the industry, we have this class conflict, that blue collar and white collar conflict. So because of that, as a nation, we are not really making much headway. So all those problems are there, but then as students of Japan, if you really learn about these strengths of Japan and about the Japanese work culture, and when you start working, if you are able to really contribute in this regard, I think you will be very, say, indispensable resource for the company. So if you graduate and graduate from just being bilingual, like this, focus on the Japanese, say how they have really excelled over the years, and even now, I mean, say people say Japan is not doing well. Yes, in certain respects it's not doing well, but according to me, it is still a very strong economy. It is still doing well. Many their products may not be selling because as a brand it has become expensive. But in terms of the quality of parts and all, they still have 100% share in many things. Like that in Apple, about 70% of the parts come from Japan. In digital cameras, Japan has almost 90 to 100% market share. Okay, so I mean, know about Japan more, and that is one thing which when you start working, you can contribute as a professional who knows well about Japan. So that's the point I wanted to make. Just go down. I'm not going into all details. Just go next. Can you scroll down? Yeah, go next. Go next. Skip this. You can read. Yeah, scroll down. Go scroll down. Scroll down. Yeah. So Japan, Japan does give a lot of assistance to India. So like you have the gyms. These are Japan-India manufacturing centers, and which is a model for the ITIs. Then for HRD development, they have various programs, and they do have this experts coming to India to teach Indian resources. Like for bullet train, there are lots of training programs being conducted to develop the soft skills of people. So I mean, Japan is giving a whole lot of support to India, and it's up to India to really absorb that and use it properly. And I think people like you who are bilingual have a very important role. Okay, so I mean, I'm sharing this presentation. You can go through this at leisure. And now, if you have any questions, you can ask me.
じゃあ皆さん、英語でも日本語でも。
No, so you see, Japan did it, I told you, in 1964. I mean, the same argument was applicable then in Japan, because it was just done with the war, and within 10 years they did, and was the first country to come up with the fastest train in the world. Later, France overtook Japan, but then again now I think Japan has developed a train which can run at about 500 kilometers. And mind you, this bullet train was the the Tokaido line, which is Tokyo to say Nagoya, Osaka. That entire belt developed because of the fast train that was available. Now, just let's not talk about bigger things. Say because of bullet train, the commute, the area from which people can commute to Tokyo is 100 kilometers. Now, in India, can you travel 100 kilometers to say Delhi or any major city, Mumbai for that matter, or Chennai, for work on daily basis? So it shortened the distance, and it led to so much growth. So, I mean, in India, say urbanization is so chaotic. That overpopulation, there's pressure on every infrastructure, and in Japan, it was the same situation in Tokyo. And once they developed this bullet train, people moved out of Tokyo, and they used to commute. And the companies used to give them monthly pass to commute to their place of work. And the average range is 100 kilometers plus. So I personally feel it was the right, it is rather late. I would say it is the right time to do it. Yeah, anybody else?
Sensei, when you're applying for jobs at a Japanese company, what are the mistakes that Indian candidates often make, and what are the Japanese companies looking for in Indian candidates?
Well, actually, as I said, our this job hopping culture is the biggest stumbling block, I would say, for the Japanese companies. Actually, do not want that kind of situation. I mean, I tell you frankly, like Kubota has entered India. They have taken over escorts, and they were in touch with me. They said, please recommend your students who can come and work with us, And what? They were trying it for last 1.5 years. And only yesterday I got confirmation from Rajat, who passed out a couple of years back. He was with Maruti, and he has decided to join Kubota. So they said that people have very high expectations, and then look at maybe 3 to 5 years only for a company, working with a company. So that I think is one big problem area. If you really want to do well in your career, I think, as I said, if you get a chance to go and work in Japan for the first 3 years, it's very good. Even if you work in India, like Kubota was willing to send the person to Japan also, to train. But still, they did not get a person for more than a year. And just based on my recommendation, Rajat got this job. Yesterday night only, I got a message from him. So that's one thing that you need to really look at. Because as an Indian, we normally give ourselves about 3 to 5 years in a company and then switch jobs. Japanese companies are maybe not so good paymasters, but as far as the opportunities for learning are concerned, I think you can gain a lot. I mean, look forward to gaining a lot. I mean, that's what one major constraint that I feel. And as students of Japan, many other things like the time management is the one of the stumbling block for India. Doing things at the last minute. We haven't changed a bit in which I was explaining. And if you read my book, you will get to know more and know about all these aspects. So those things, and then if you stay with a company, Japanese company, they do take care of you well.
Thank you, Sensei. Okani, any other questions?
Yeah. Since you said that currently you are working as like a consultant for different companies, so like I wanted to know a little bit about that. Like, what exactly like the companies actually look for, and like how is it too hectic, because consulting does involve a lot of traveling. Like you need to be at the client base, wherever your client is located. You have to go there and understand what they're asking for, and then complete the projects in time. So the deadlines are also there. So how is it like as a career opportunity? Yeah.
No, you see, for a young person, this is not the option. I mean, it's not a career option, say, for people like you. To become a consultant, you have to have a lot of experience. And if you are operating independently, as I do, you have to establish yourself first. And people, say in my case, how it has worked is that basically in India, people switch jobs, as I told you. So I go and train some company, and within 3 to 4 years, most of them have moved out of that company. So they go to a new company and they say, "Oh, Motwani-san is very good, call him." So that is how, by word of mouth, that if you are challenging, say, as I said, Japanese management, that certification or award, then he's the right person. So I don't have any, kind of my own website or homepage or no publicity I do. I just work with companies, and they automatically, by word of mouth, it spreads. So it's not a career option for say any one of you immediately. I was saying that you need to work towards that goal for a long period of time, and then if you are really good and people recognize your work, yes, it becomes an option. Yes, definitely. And I think at my age, I enjoy traveling and different kind of industries and working with them, different kind of people. Why as a young man you feel that it is tiring to go to different places, and I love to really interact with people with diverse background, diverse industries. Gives you really a big challenge. Yes, a consulting job is very big challenge, because I mentioned in my presentation also that there is too much dependence on consultant. I mean, they expect that, okay, if we are paying the consultant, he will do the job for us. So they expect that, okay, I will get them that certification, which is not guaranteed. But we, of course, play very tough with them to really do everything what is required. And so, I mean, it's very challenging job. I still at this age find very stimulating, not tiring at all.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for the response. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Can we have one more question, Uma?
Yeah, please go ahead.
And also, Sensei, if time is okay.
Yeah,
We can have one more.
Thank you. Yes, Sensei, actually, now that few of us, we have graduated, so one concern a few of us are facing, especially because we haven't had a chance, most of them haven't had a chance to have interpretation classes with you in masters, and we haven't had interpretation training in masters. So we were finding it really difficult to actually, go out there and maybe take up an interpretation, freelance gig, because we are a little anxious about how it will be because it's our first time. So are there what will your advice be to all of us who are facing that kind of trouble in the beginning? Like, what can we do to overcome that fear?
I personally feel, depending on the facts, that 95% plus people end up working as an interpreter and translator in companies. JNU should offer course on, there should optional course in masters on interpretation. So I think you talk to your teachers. Jana Sensei knows it very well. I was actually, last couple of years when I was with JNU, I was consistently telling the department that, think about 2 years later when I hang my boots, train someone who can really do this. So here it is like, theoretically, this course cannot be taught, as I said. If the person himself is doing interpretation, only then he knows the challenges and different kinds of situations that you end up facing while doing interpretation at various levels. So we actually, Uma was there. One course we offered through NEC. It didn't work in the sense that say recruitment was not done properly by NEC. So I think it was only Uma who was doing well in that course. All others were, not really having very strong background in the language. So that way, I feel JNU has a long 5-year course, and our students are much better off than any other university in India. So, somewhere that this course should be offered. I've been telling NEC also that, okay, if JNU cannot offer this, they can, offer this. But next time around, if they really go for it, I will myself interview people and then, select. Because even in JNU, a lot of people wanted to do my course, but then if they were not good in spoken, I used to tell them to really not to opt for my course. So we will do that recruitment better next time around. I also feel, even industry feels, like NEC was one company which was recruiting all our graduates, and send them off to Japan. So they also feel that suddenly, the source from which all the interpreters used to come to the industry, that is not there anymore. So we are also thinking, basically, it's as I told you, if you really want to get properly trained, it's a long winding process, and it takes time. So I used to really offer 4 semesters course, which now I can't come back to JNU and say, even as a guest lecturer, do that. One, because I have gotten so busy with my consulting that there is no looking back right now. But like this NEC online, we tried once. Maybe if it is I mean, good, reasonably 8 to 10 people are there, we can still try running a batch, either online or even offline now. So that's one way that, I mean, we also, because I keep discussing with NEC, they feel it's a big, kind of a vacuum which has been created. And but on the other side, the fact of the matter is most of the people, after passing out, they have to go for this one. So yes, there's a vacuum.
Thank you, Sensei.
All right, then I think I'll bring the meet to a close now. 先生、大変お忙しい中、時間を作っていただいて、貴重なお話をいただいて、本当にありがとうございました。
どうも。
最後にちょっとしたお願いがありますが、みんなで写真を撮る習慣があって、協力いただけますか？
はいはい。
はい。では、皆さんカメラをオンにしていただければ。Okay then. Ready? せーの。Alright, done. Thank you everyone. ご参加いただいてありがとうございました。Thank you, 先生。
Okay. So anytime if you need any help, let me know.
Right. 先生、may we share your email ID with everyone?
Yeah, no problem.
Alright. Alright then. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Okay, have a nice Sunday.
ありがとうございます。